Hey everybody, my name is Sean Piper, and I'm the instructor for this class. This is the web authoring course. And what we're going to be doing here today, this is week 1, so we're just now getting started, and we're going to get right into what this class is all about. And this kind of takes an alternative look at creating web pages. Normally, you would create a web page using just straight HTML, CSS, code everything by hand, and everything is basically static. Okay, meaning it doesn't really do anything unless you integrate all this Java, jQuery, Ajax, any of those scripting languages to kind of make your site do something. We want to go beyond that. We want to go into a landscape of, I guess, more dynamic utilities and applications as opposed to just a single basic site. Okay? So, what is this class all about? We are going to look at what is called a content management system. There are many out there. A lot of them are either you've never heard of them before, or you probably have seen them or used them, but didn't know you were using it. For instance, Moodle, that you guys log into for all of your classes, is a content management system, but it is for educational purposes. Another, for instance, the Kroger website, content management system. You wouldn't know. It looks like just a general website, but it is a content management system. We're going to talk about WordPress. WordPress is probably my single most favorite way to build a website. It is easy to do if you just want something basic, or it will allow you to create something very advanced and fluid, very dynamic, very interactive, something that looks like it took hundreds and hundreds of hours to develop, when in all actuality it was pieced together by you using the work of a lot of other people out there, or you can create your own content for it, your own add-ins and plugins and things like that. But WordPress is what we are going to focus on. That's what your textbook is about, and that's what we're going to learn. A lot of WordPress is going to revolve around doing blogs or weblogs, e-commerce, and business sites. So you can do a lot with this single utility. But before we actually get into what is WordPress, content management systems, all this stuff, we're going to talk about actually the class. Okay? I just want to go over the rules for this class. So you guys know, you are expected to read the syllabus, and all this information is in the syllabus, and we have to take a syllabus quiz the first week, so make sure you read it and take that quiz. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that assignments are going to be posted on a weekly basis. So every week, you need to log into Moodle, you need to check out and see what you need to do for that week, what you need to read, and everything will always be due on Sunday at 11:55 p.m. on the dot. If you don't turn it in by then, you don't turn it at all. There is no late work in this class. If you have some extenuating circumstances that is documentable, like, let's say you go to the hospital or the emergency room, or your grandma dies, or something like that, bring me some kind of documentation, email it to me, you can fax it to the office, or you can come by. Let me know, and we can work something out as long as it's not a project. Project is the only thing that I will not fluctuate on. If you miss a project, you miss a project and you get a 0 for it. There is no makeup for it. Okay? Next, we have weekly forums in the class. Every week, I will post a question or series of questions that you need to go and basically read and answer as they tell you to. You may have to respond to other students, 1, 2, 5 students. It just depends on the week. So just go, check the forum, see what's due, make sure you do it. On top of that, we also have quizzes every week. Not every week, but we do have quizzes. Okay, so you need to make sure that you do the quizzes. They're a decent part of your grade. Just like the labs are. Every week we have a lab. Even this week we have a lab. Starting out, I know that's no fun, but day one, yes, there is a lab. Okay? And then the final piece to my class, you have to participate. I expect everyone to participate. Okay? I am doing my very best to make this as interactive and fun as possible, even though it is a distance learning class and everybody hates distance learning. But I'm going to try to make it enjoyable for you guys. So what does participation actually mean? That's kind of vague. Well, I'm going to post up a lot of articles, videos, and some activities for you guys to do. Okay, I can tell if you guys go to them. I can tell if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So make sure you do it. All right. On top of that, we also use a program called Selly. The website for that is cel.ly. With Selly, it is a way that we can all talk to each other. And it's almost like a really pretty text messaging service. You can do it from the web page, from your cell phone, or text message. Any of those, you can interact with the Selly program. You don't have to get that set up until week 2, and I'll go in depth on that, and I'll actually have a video for you guys to watch so you can see how to set it up. And then there will be documentation. You can download the PDF that walks you through how to set it up also. So if you do not participate, it will severely affect your grade. We don't do roll. Obviously, there's no way for me to take roll for you guys. But instead of that, we do participation. And it will be treated just like roll. Whereas if you miss 5 participation assignments, it's the same thing as if you missed 5 classes, and that would equal you failing the class. So if you guys don't participate, you're not going to pass the class. So let's all just get along, have fun, and everything should be all good. Alright, so let's get into this. What is WordPress? We already established that WordPress is a content management system, which that's a new term probably to most of y'all. What is content management system? Well, we'll get into that. But the important thing to know here is it is a dynamic website. Dynamic meaning there's dynamic and there's static. A standard HTML and CSS site, that's going to be static. It doesn't do anything, it doesn't move, there's no life to it. It's just, essentially, it's just a document. But with WordPress, it is dynamic. There is life to it. It does interact with the user. So what do you need? Let's say I want to set up a WordPress site, which you will. You need a few things. We're either going to need a web server, which we have one at school, so no worry about that. If you want to set it up for yourself, you have your own private setup of WordPress, we need a web host. Okay, this is someone like GoDaddy or HostGator or FatCow or any of these big hosting companies. You pay $7 a month. They have an easy one-click WordPress setup. You don't have to do all this difficult stuff. But we're not going to do that because we don't have web hosting. If you do, that's awesome, and I encourage you to set up your own. But we're not going to use that for our assignments. We're going to use a instance of WordPress that's going to be set up on the WebTech web server. And then the last way we can do it, you also can do a WordPress.com account. And WordPress.com, what that is the people that make WordPress. Okay. They will actually host your server for you. Oh, yeah, your WordPress server for you. And let me click over here so you guys can see. Okay, here's an example of WordPress.com. It's super easy to get set up. All you do is you can come here, click Get Started, and just follow the directions. So you're going to set up a WordPress.com account. The disadvantage to this is if you are using the free account, you can see here, bam, free account, all you get is a free blog. That's it. You don't get domain name, which means like myname.com, okay, or here's my blog.com or whatever. You don't get that. You're just going to get whatever your name is, .wordpress.com or something like that. All right? You get a very limited amount of space, okay? So if you have a ton of pictures and videos and you have a lot of different applications that you're going to run on WordPress, you can't do that. You're going to need to upgrade. You do have advertisements on your page. You can't customize the design, and you cannot use videos or use what's called VideoPress. So you're very limited on what you can do, but it's free. Otherwise, it's $100 a year. So what does that come out to be? I don't know. It's $100 a year. You pay it up front. So just be aware. If you want to set that up, then that's where you go, wordpress.com/signup. So, all right. So, back to what we care about. Okay, so on top of a web server or a web host, we also are going to need a database. Okay, and a database is used with WordPress because it functions on a really kind of a neat level, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. But just know you do have to have a database on top of a web server. So there's 2 servers you have to set this up. So if you're wanting to set this up at home, just remember you need 2 servers. Okay. On top of that, we also need the WordPress web application. We go to wordpress.org, different than wordpress.com. .com is the hosting. .org is where you can actually download all of the application files that you need to run your WordPress server. Okay? Pretty basic so far. Not too complicated. Okay, so we're talking about all this technical stuff, servers, and all this. What does all that mean? Why do we need all this stuff? What makes this so special? Well, this is how it works. WordPress is, like I said, almost a living kind of being, okay? So what's going to happen is if you visit a WordPress site, okay? So user is going to visit WordPress site, and it's going to request content from that site, okay? Instead of just saying, let me go to jimmyjoeswebsite.com, okay? If it's just a normal static site, it's just going to give me whatever that HTML document is. I'm going to see it. There's links, there's pictures, there may be some movies, and that's it, okay? But what happens if you go to a WordPress site is WordPress is actually going to go into that database that you have, and it's going to pull out pieces of information. It could be pictures, it could just be text, it could be any number of things. But it's going to take all that stuff and arrange it in any way that you want to, okay? As the designer, as you design your WordPress site, you can control how it displays the information, where it displays it, and how it displays it, okay? So that WordPress application is going to give you flexibility in these content blocks, okay? And then finally, it's going to arrange it for the end user, and the user is going to see it and be able to interact with it, okay? So it works. It's not very complicated, but it is much more complicated than a normal website, okay? So just keep that in mind. So what's the benefit of this? Yes, it allows for this customization of controlling how and where content is produced, but one of the nice things as designers is we have the ability to design a website using what's called a theme that will allow us to change content without actually modifying CSS or HTML, okay? If you were to take a normal website, a static website, and you were just disgusted with how it looked, I hate the way my website looks, this is stupid, I want to change it. Well, guess what? You are going to have to go into all of your divs, to your sections, if you're using articles, and you are going to have to figure out what each of those is called. You'll then have to go into your CSS, make note of the CSS, which items are getting what rules, and then you're going to have to modify all this in conjunction to make it look the way you want to. Whereas with WordPress, all you have to do is you're going to have theme files that you can modify, and it is not going to affect your actual HTML. You may make some changes to the CSS, but it is much easier than doing on a static site, okay? And just an example of that, just so you guys can see exactly, okay, how much information goes into a WordPress site. Let me go in here to I have a personal web server that I'm running here. So let's go in here, just so you guys can see, just get a little taste of what all goes into this. And don't get scared by this, because it looks like a lot of stuff, but a lot of this is already going to be pre-made, and we're not going to actually have to go in and write all this code ourselves. But let's go in here. Here is a food blog that I do, okay? And you guys can see here how many files actually go into this, okay? This is just one little bit of it, but each section has its own PHP file. If you guys aren't familiar with PHP, that's all right. You're going to pick up some as we go, but to make changes to a WordPress site or to add features, you're not going to have to be a master at PHP. But each little section is inside of its own PHP file. If you want to change the way everything looks, all you have to do is go into content, and we go under themes, and here's our themes that we're running. Okay, and we just make changes here, and it will affect the way the page looks, not actually how the page operates. So it's really kind of neat. But this is getting a little bit ahead. I just wanted you guys to see how many files actually are involved in something like this. Let's go back here to our presentation. Alright, so what else is fancy about WordPress? So we got the themes. We can make it look all awesome without having to really do as much work as you'd have to do in a static site. But we can also add content. Or not necessarily content, we add features to our site. So let's say we want to add the ability of a calendar. Let's say we want to add a way that people can subscribe to your site via email. Let's say, really, there's any number of things you can imagine. If you wanted to show a new cover of a comic book every day, you could do that. There are plugins that will do that. And the awesome thing is, with a plugin, all you have to do, find the plugin either on the community, the WordPress.org community, or on some other random person's site that has this plugin, download it, put it on your web server's plugin folders, and install it. That's it. There's not a whole lot involved, and then magically, you now have these additional features that you can customize your site with. Another reason that WordPress is so phenomenal. There's so much customizability, and you don't have to be this genius coder to make these new things happen. Okay, so what types of sites can we build with all this stuff we're talking about? Well, blog is going to be the most common use of WordPress. Okay, it's if you want to share your thoughts, your dreams, your ambitions. Maybe you're a photographer, a graphic designer, a website, anything. You just want to share something with the world. You can set up a blog, and that, again, that's the most common use for WordPress. Next is going to be business. You can easily set up a business using WordPress. It could be just to share information about your business and try to get people to come in, visit your site, something like that. Or next step up from that, we can set up an e-commerce site. E-commerce being a shopping cart where people can go and actually purchase things. They pay you right on the site, you get notification, and then you just ship them whatever your product may be, or send them an email with the product information, something like that. However you are dispersing your goods, you can do that with WordPress. The book does say that WordPress is not the greatest platform to use for e-commerce. I will highly debate this. There are a lot of awesome plugins and themes that you can use to turn your site into a fully functional shopping cart with very little work. And I prefer WordPress for e-commerce over something like ZenCart or OpenCart, any of those that were meant to be a shopping cart. And then finally, we can set up a catalog. Say we don't want to sell things, we just want to show people what we have. We can do that with WordPress as well. So that's kind of just an overview of what we're going to be talking about during the semester. It's just WordPress, the magical, mighty WordPress. So I encourage you guys to read Chapter 1. You have to read Chapter 1, otherwise you're going to have no clue on a lot of stuff. Look over Chapter 2 and 3. I know 3 chapters is a lot for the first week, but read over Chapter 2 and 3, especially Chapter 3, because next week we are going to be installing WordPress on the web server. So make sure you do that, and also check on Moodle for your lab and any quizzes. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you later.